Well, welcome back to Scoreboard. Now, it's that time when we get to speak to a guest. You probably have heard the name Dennis Maara, but you probably have never met him as well, unless you're a golfer or unless you follow golf. Now, I'll just give you a brief introduction. He is the man who led Kenya to reclaim the Victoria Cup. You may not remember that as well, but you heard about it because we had it here for you on our news as well. And he won a bronze at the Zone 5 Golf Championships in Addis Ababa as well. Now, he was at the Magical Kenya Open last year, and again this year he's going to be there and he's leading the team. He's the captain of the other top amateur golfers at this year's Magical Kenya Open. Now, Dennis Maara has joined us in studio so that we can talk before the event itself and also know exactly who he is. Dennis, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for hosting me.
It's good to see you. You know, when you're on the golf course, you look a little bit different. We probably will not notice. You will notice the attire more than anything else.
Yes.
But congratulations. What does it feel like, first of all, to have led the country to reclaim the Victoria Cup?
It was a great feeling. You know, having played the Victoria Cup, I think my first time playing it was in 2016. And somehow won, and then I was not in the team for a couple of years.
What do you mean somehow won? You're not convinced about your own performance?
It was a makeshift team because at that time the guys who were leading the rankings actually boycotted the qualification. So we entered, we managed to win by half a point, and it was just that we were just good enough.
Yeah, half a point is somehow. It's somehow.
Somehow.
But congratulations, you made the team last year.
Yes.
You've made the team this year as well.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about this trophy that is here, first of all. What's the trophy for? What is it? It has so many inscriptions. Where do you come into it?
I come in as the 2022 champion. This is the Kenya Amateur Match Play trophy. It's actually been in tournament. Well, the tournament has been held for the last 100 years. So it's actually one of the most prestigious trophies in the country as we speak. So for me to have won it is, man, it's one of those things that you really look forward to.
You can see that Ken is admiring it, eh? and Ken thinking, yeah, he should have lifted it at some point, but he never got there. So
the best I can do is present it.
Yeah.
Is there any name on the trophy there? Because it's got lots of inscriptions that actually captivates your imagination of what golf should be like in Kenya.
Well, I've tried to have a look at it, but there's so many names. Like I said, it's been going on for 100 years.
Yep.
But I've seen a couple of my friends who are playing in the pro tournament right now who have won it, and it's good to see that you know, each step you go one at a time. So
Yep.
one day you're an amateur, the next day you go into pro, and then you're still performing together in the same tournament.
Yeah.
And hopefully now we'll grow to that next level.
A little bit of a transition, eh?
Yes.
Now you are a team captain, so you have to talk about the team as well. Who is there and what are their strengths that you feel can make you this time round do a better job than you did last year?
So the team, I would start by saying everyone has earned the right to represent themselves and the country in the Magical Kenya Open. We have our superstar, Mr. Joroge Kibugu, who he's just landed from South Africa right in the last few hours.
Is that exactly where you're sitting the last time?
Yes.
To tell us that you had performed.
Yes, I told him he's a superstar, and
Yes.
yeah, so he's coming back high in confidence. We have Adel Balala from Nyali, actually from Vipingo Ridge Golf Club.
Yeah.
We have John Lejirma, our series winner and the former Kenya 1. And we have our we have Jay Sandu, who's also Kenya #2 in the last season. And we have Daniel Kiragu, who's our top junior. So we have a strong team, full of confidence. We range in ages, and we've played for a long time, and we want to take, you know, the trophy. Well, we want to take Kenya Open and test it, kabisa.
Okay.
Yes.
You are called the amateurs.
Yes.
That means there's the professionals.
Yes.
And then there is those who are coming from Europe.
Yes.
You know, when you look at the scores, and we see a -5, a -6, and then we see our +9, +7, you know, then you look at the very big difference.
Yes.
How is it going to change? How are you going to change it? We're looking at some of the performances that we had last year. Joroge did slightly better, not too good. This time round when he had the Women's Magical Kenya Open, it was a flop, if you would say, on the Kenyan side. How are you going to improve this performance? What have you done differently that you did last year that you've done differently for this year?
So this year, as a team, those who have qualified through for MKO, our union gave us the preparation to go down to South Africa to play a few tournaments. So we played at the prestigious Leopard Creek, the All Africa Stroke Play Championship. Then we played the SA Amateur Match Play Championship and the SA Amateur Stroke Play Championship. So what these tournaments do essentially is they give you that exposure, and that exposure is what actually brings you out playing these better scores. You learn different traits of the game, playing in different conditions. Whereas just playing here in Kenya, these guys have traveled all around the world. They've played many courses like Muthaiga, many courses like Current. So when they come, this is a very easy step for them. As we're based here, we only know one shot, one kind of strategy, but we don't know the pressure. So what we adapt to in that 1 week, we have not felt it for the whole year. You get? So at least going and getting out that exposure allows us to prepare better. And for instance, like someone like Joroge, he's mainly based either in US or in SA. So he's constantly playing with better players. And I think that's how we will continue to prepare as a team. And I encourage even now the PGK to do the same for the pros in Kenya.
Okay. There's a little bit of a motivation that has come in from the news that we get, but it goes only to the pro golfers. Some money has been put aside for them as well. What's your motivation as the amateurs?
As amateurs? For us, is to beat the pros.
That's motivation enough.
And to be fair, in that whole field, we're only 6 amateurs.
Yes.
Everyone else is a pro, whether they're coming from Brazil, from Europe, from wherever. We, as an amateur, we have our own competition within to be the best amateur in the field. But also, you're playing against guys you watch on TV day in, day out. And that's motivation enough. And you see what Joroge did last year. If that doesn't motivate you, you can see how many kids now are playing golf just because of what they saw last year.
I think that Wilfred Bungei has been listening to this as well. He's an athlete as well. But an athlete is an athlete. Actually, an athlete is a general term of anybody who's involved in sports. And then you can now narrow down on a different sport and say footballer, runner. Wilfred, listening to Dennis, would you agree that there is a chance for the Kenyan side to be able to do a little bit better than they did the last time?
Bernard, we say that practice makes perfect. And I think the best thing that golfers need to be able to do is to be able to practice more and more. And I think I agree with Dennis when he says that, when it comes to the Kenya Magic that will be coming next week, the Kenyan players or golfers, is going to have a challenge because number one, they have not gotten the exposure. If you look at any time that you have been able to do this event, it is always that you get the foreigners are the ones that are going with a bigger prize. And I think first and foremost, there is a challenge in Kenya, whereby we understand being a member of the club is always very expensive, and therefore it becomes a challenge for anyone who wants to play. But from a sportsman point of view, I think I agree with Dennis 100% that they need to be able to practice more. They need to be able to go to tournament out there so that they can compete with some of these bros so that they can be able to improve their performance.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier on that you also play golf. Of course, the better-known golfer from the athletic circles is Moses Tanoi, who has also sponsored a couple of events as well. What about you? What do you find challenging in golf that maybe Dennis can be able to comment on as well, that you find very challenging when you're golfing?
Absolutely, Bernard. The fact that you have mentioned Moses, is still, I think, almost one of the very few athletes that decided to leave athletics and go to golfing. Because for him is far much better than myself. I still try to play, but again, the challenge is because I think Dennis understands, for example, that if I'm a member of Nandi Bears, for example, there are few corresponding clubs that are outside, maybe Rift Valley, for example, so that if I am in Nairobi and I'm staying in Nairobi like now, I should have an opportunity to be able to go to some of these other clubs that they can be able to correspond. But the fact that most of the clubs, they don't correspond with any other, it becomes a challenge.
Yeah, okay, but I thought Dennis would probably pick on your handicap, for example. What handicap do you give yourself at Nandi Bears? Dennis, you've got to help Bouquet here as well.
Bernard and Dennis, you know, I've not been put into handicap, but at least at the end of the day, I know that if I was to play, I can be a handicap 7 or 8, and if I practice more, I think I can be able to improve.
Dennis, what's your comment to what he's saying?
I'd like to put him out. You know, there's a whole Kenya Amateur Golf Series. At handicap 7, he qualifies to play in the series. We'd like to to host him. Maybe he can bring those medals to show off, and we can show ours as well.
I'll be there.
You know, if we were to bring athletes to show their medals at the golf course, you know, you need a whole week.
Yes.
We have to start with the gold, and then for 1 week, and then the silver and the bronze. It's going to take a long time. Eh?
Yeah.
But a good number of athletes are interested in golf as well. This question we have asked so many times of how you can get more people into playing golf. Now, I don't want to discuss this issue of golf being expensive, because that's what he has brought in. We know it's expensive, but what are the gains probably at the end of it all?
I would say golf is a game that you can play for a long time. Like as you mentioned, Moses Tanui, he retired from sports, and rather from running, and obviously took up the game of golf, which he can play. He's actually a very good friend of mine, and we meet when we go out of town. So for someone his age, he can play it, and it actually keeps him fit and keeps him going. Also, the networks that you develop in golf, you know, playing different tournaments, meeting various new people, and you get to, you know, spend your time outside as well. So there's a whole lot of benefits just from actually playing the game of golf. And you know, Ken is also an avid golfer.
Average?
Avid.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And,
We're going to take him down.
You know, he also has a title in my golf club.
You'll tell it to us in secret.
Yes.
Ken, take us through this Magical Kenya Open with Dennis. Now, you've got to ask him the questions about the Magical Kenya Open, what the expectations are and all that.
Dennis, you know, this year, as amateurs, you really have gone through the best. There is no better training that you could have gone through. So now here comes the Open. It starts next week. We are expecting the best from you. Now, in times before, we've had the pros as well. Pros who have been amateurs, very good amateurs, won all the titles, you know them. But when they get into the pro ranks, I don't know what happens. So my question is, where do you draw the line? At what point do you say, look, I think now, I'm now capable, and I can, I've been winning, let me continue winning, but get paid for it. You know, that's what professionals do.
Yeah.
They live.
Ken, ask the question. Ask the
Yeah.
question.
So at what point do you think, you know, from your experience, is the right time now to cross over?
To turn pro.
Yeah.
For me, I would say when the pro tour in Kenya is sustainable.
When the pro what?
The pro tour.
Tour,
Yeah,
okay.
is sustainable.
Okay,
Like, for instance, as an amateur, we have over 25 tournaments in a season.
Great.
Last year, in this preparation for this Kenya Open, I think the pros had 7 tournaments.
So you need more pro tournaments.
Yes.
That's the time that you can decide to turn pro.
Exactly.
Otherwise, for you now, the amateur tour is giving you more options to play than the pro tour.
Yes, and the series right now for the amateurs, the union has involved money as per the RNA guidelines. So if you have 25 tournaments earning money, I think there'll even be a point where maybe you'll have some pros turning back into amateurs. Because if you have 7 tournaments where you can earn money, only the top 20 win money, vis-a-vis 25 tournaments where you can get money and you play for a whole season, and you're working on your game and you're competing. So at this moment in time,
there's got to be a financial motivation to it. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So, like for instance, the Magical Kenya Open is sponsored to a tune of over 200 million Kenya shillings. That can be, you know, we want to have that tour. It's a prestigious event for Kenya, but also that kind of funding could be spread out for the pro tour. Have a 20-season tournament for the pros, and with a prize guarantee of 5-10 million. That will also grow the game, not only for Kenyan pros, but even in the region. So now you have more players, and like for instance, the South African tour, you have players coming from all over the world to play those tournaments. In Kenya, right now we have Robson Chinwe, who unfortunately missed the Kenya Open because of an error. but he was dominating the Kenyans here.
Right. Let's talk more of the magical Kenya Open now, and your expectations at the magical Kenya Open.
Yes.
Are there any names that you think, for example, will give you a run, whether pro or amateur, that will give you a run for the money when it comes to the game and when it starts next week?
As in Kenya versus Kenya? Right now,
even international.
International, I don't want to look at the internationals. You know them, they come to play their game. And for us, for me, I'm out there to beat the course. If someone beats the course better than me, well and good. But I think we've prepared much better. Last year, for me, it was just amazing to be in that tournament. That was my goal. It was an achievement that I've had for a long time. Now that I made it again, obviously you change your goals, and now it's to make the cut and obviously improve from where I finished last year. Yeah.
Let me turn back to Wilfred. You know, he gives very good advice, especially when people are going into the finals like this one. Wilfred, what's your advice to Dennis regarding the Magical Kenya Open?
I think, number one, you know, I like when I hear Dennis, you know, with the confidence that he has, especially going to the match next week. I think all of us sportsmen and women, we always want to have that confidence when you are going to the match. And I think when I hear his preparation, he knows the course, you know, he has been playing there before. Of course, any new person who is coming to play here in Kenya, that could be the first course. So for him, he should be able to understand the course far much better, and therefore he will have a lot of advantage. And I think I can tell you, Dennis, that as you have rightly put it, and something that is, I'm so happy, you know, you are so passionate about it, you are already ready to be able to be better and better as we move forward. Because that is what I would like to see in the coming years. Because Bernard understands that Wilfred Bungei is one person that will talk about every other sport in this country so that we can be able to do well, because we have plenty of sportsmen and women, you know, in different fields, but unfortunately, you know, when it comes to exposure and all that is always a challenge.
All right, you know, he always gives very good advice. You know, yes. Ken was sounding like, you know, that uncle who has always told you when you go to Nairobi, be careful about this and this, you know. Ken, what's your assessment of the field that is coming, especially after what we have seen in the Magical Kenya Open? I mean, this is now progressive. What do you expect this year yourself as an avid golfer?
Yes,
like you called it?
Bernard, one thing I'm expecting, and this has been the trend, because government has pumped in a lot of money. Dennis just said we are looking at 200 million plus. And money is what attracts, meaning that we are going to attract the top levels in the DP Tour. I think now it's called the DP Tour. That's the European Tour. Mm-hmm. So we are going to have top level names. But my expectation is that the amateurs will do better once again. Mm-hmm. They'll do better than the Kenyan pros. Why do I say this? I say this because the Kenyan pros seem to have, their training is geared towards playing the Kenya Open, okay? But the amateurs are playing different. They are playing as if the Kenya Open is just another of the tournaments that they have been playing.
But you see the pros
and that
focus,
is how it's going to be.
Like Dennis has put it, you know, there's money in this.
Yeah,
that's
but listen, Bernard, you cannot be training for one event.
No,
you have to keep playing.
That's correct.
At the same level, at the same high intensity level, with the same sort of competition, you know, not just one tournament.
Yeah.
If you play
yes,
for
but
just
Ken,
one
you're
tournament,
contradicting yourself,
obviously
because
you'll be
a professional is a person who's involved in the sport for the money and plays it every time for it. So we can't say they only train for one event.
The Kenyans have not had that opportunity.
No.
They have not had the opportunity.
You just want to make Dennis feel good, which is okay. But you can't
Dennis
blame,
is good. I don't have to make him feel
blame,
good.
You can't blame the professionals for training for that one event that comes to their country. They have to get the best of it. Yeah. But yes, I think what Ken is alluding to is the fact that you, having had a lot more tournaments than the pros, are probably expected to play much better. Of course, you might not match up to the pros, and that's why you're in the amateurs, but you're expected to play better. Is that the case?
We expect to be in better form than
to be in better form?
Yes.
What's
the Kenyan pros?
What does that mean?
So in terms of, we know where our game is, we know what we're expecting as we enter the game, whereas we have more competition form. Like for instance, we've just come from, I say, the guys who actually went. For some of us, it was our first time experiencing such a trip and experiencing such harsh conditions, etc. But you can tell, like, what I saw, what I managed to do there, the facilities that I had access to, which is another serious factor.
It changed your game.
Yes.
It changed the way you want to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So,
okay.
like just for instance, in terms of facilities here in Kenya, the only thing we can advance in a golf club is technology. We have no space to expand the ranges, expand the chipping greens and whatnot, etc. But in South Africa, you will find that there's one whole section which has 2 golf courses. Then there's another whole section that is just for range. Another whole section that is, chipping, your putting, etc. So you can actually spend a whole day just going around doing different things on the golf course or in the golf.
Well, you see now that's what the professionals go through. Okay, yes. That's what the professionals have to go through.
So we've been exposed to some facilities that the pros don't have right now in this country.
Well,
yes.
You have played in the Pro-Am, have you?
No.
Oh, okay. Because Ken, when you play the Pro-Am, the amateurs and the pros playing together, might you notice the obvious difference in the way people are playing when you play in that partnership?
Of course, you will notice a big difference, and because mostly the Pro-Am, you'll be paired with a foreign pro.
Yes.
So you learn a few things, and the pros being young, the foreigners, they're young, so they're able to teach you a few tricks, one and two.
Well, I think Dennis will probably one of these days play that as well. But overall, Dennis, what can we expect?
You can expect.
In football, we predict and say, I think it's going to be 2-1, I think it's going to be 3-0. What do you think it's going to be for the amateurs playing in the Magical Kenya Open?
I can say for sure the Kenyan amateurs will beat the pros, the Kenyan pros. I'll just put that out there. I know we're all friends at the end of the day, but it's good to have a battle within a battle. And I really look forward to first the performances of I see Njoroge Kibugu going even further. I know he's in it to win it. And for the rest of us, we're there to really improve from what he did last year. And making the cut is a must. Because I think the union...
I'll put that down. Yes. It's a must.
It's a must.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. What happens, and forgive me sometimes because this is sport and anything happens, what happens if an amateur wins the Magical Kenya Open?
You become an instant celebrity. All your bills are taken care of.
Are we going to have an instant celebrity?
It can happen.
It's possible, isn't it?
Yeah, on Sunday we'll find out.
Can it be Dennis Maara?
Yes, it can.
It can. Yes. Although Dennis has touted Njoroge Kibugu. Very pleasant young man. We talked to him a couple
I'll find him on Sunday in the final round.
You will, eh?
Yes.
Well done. Well done. Thank you very much, Dennis.
Yes. Badges that he has?
Yeah, I know he's got.
Chance to explain.
Maybe you can just enumerate what they are. Those badges that you've got.
So basically, these are tokens of the different federations that we've experienced. So I have like South Africa, Egypt, places that we have gone, etc. So when we go for tournaments, we go and exchange badges with the guys that we played with.
And you have to put them on the lapel every time.
Yeah.
And this is a very good tradition, you know?
It was
tradition.
there. It went. I gave it out.
You gave it out?
Yes.
He
Which
gave
one?
out for Limuru. Limuru Country Club. He gave it out.
Listen. He's on television now. He's
television.
thinking international. Can't you hear what he's saying? Botswana, South Africa, not Limuru, Kiambu, Kavete. No. Ken, go with the flow. Excellent. Let's go to what we have else, and Dennis will help us along. I'm sure you watch sports a little bit, and you support probably different. The FA quarterfinals are on. What team do you support in the English Premier League? Do you?
Arsenal.
Big team. Big team. Okay. So your win yesterday is a very big one for you.
Yes.
But you're looking at the FA Cup quarterfinals, and there's Brighton who are going to be playing there. There is Brighton and Hove are playing Grimsby Town. Man City is playing Burnley. Man United, Fulham. Sheffield United, Blackburn. Which one is big for you here, Dennis?
Wow. I think
there's no Arsenal there, so
there's no Arsenal. So I think I just hope Burnley and Fulham go on and beat those two Manchester teams. It's very unlikely, but anything can happen.
We see where you are going. You are going to go against Manchester United. Let's talk to Bungay on the other side. Bungay, which one is big for you in this lineup?
I think Liverpool.
No, Liverpool are not there in the FA Cup quarterfinals. It's Brighton and Grimsby, Man City, Burnley, Man United, Fulham, and Sheffield, Blackburn.
I think Man United, Fulham.
Man United, Fulham. At least you mentioned Manchester United. That was important. Ken, it's okay. You can stay out on this one. You don't have to tell us who you think is going to be
Burnley is leading the championship currently,
Bernard,
and they have a very strong side.
Yes,
so I expect they will
Wilfred.
cause problems to City.
Yeah, I'm happy that Denise is for Arsenal, just like myself. It makes me feel great today.
Okay, now that's
Team
two
of
people
champions.
talking about Arsenal, and one person who most likely will not talk about Manchester United because he's a Liverpool fan. We know Man United won the Carabao Cup. We'll leave it at that for then. Let's move on. Now, there are other things that are happening over the weekend as well. And we've got some rugby that is going to be going on in Vancouver. That's the Vancouver Sevens, and that starts over the weekend. It will be played in Canada up to the 5th of March, so it's just 2 days. And again, we are hoping that Shujaa will do well in this one. Do you have the fixtures for that one, Ken? Who are we playing first? Do we have it?
No, I don't.
Not
but
yet.